The vote we will soon take to provide military weapons for Ukraine is the most important vote we will ever take as United States senators.
We have enough money to make hundreds of millions of dollars of our taxpayer funds available to the private sector in Ukraine. We are now literally funding their businesses, their banks, Lord knows what. We've got money without end. We've got enough money to pay for bureaucrats' salaries. We've got enough money to pay for Ukrainian government officials' pensions. We've got enough money for so-called humanitarian aid that gets funneled away from, siphoned off into any manner of corrupt uses. We won't know because we don't have a special inspector general to oversee this money, but that's a different story. Oh no, we've got plenty of money. And I have listened carefully to colleague after colleague of mine come to this floor and stand where I am now and say, it's so important that we spend this money on these overseas wars. We must spend the money. If we don't spend this money now, why, it may cost us more money in the future. No, it's imperative. It's imperative that we spend this money. Meanwhile, these same people turn to the citizens of Missouri and say, you're not worth a dime. They say, you can't have a penny. They turn to the residents of Kentucky and Tennessee and Alaska and New Mexico and Arizona and Utah and Texas, and they say, we don't care that you were poisoned. We don't have a dime for you. We have unlimited money for Ukraine. We're going to rebuild the borders of Ukraine. That's in this bill, but we don't have anything for you.
This is my video update on this Tuesday morning, February the 13th. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with the Senate Ukraine funding bill. And there were some interesting speeches yesterday in the Senate as they prepare for the final vote. I think it's the final vote in order to pass this 95 billion euro funding bill without the southern border. No southern border money, but money to Israel, money to Taiwan, and a whole lot of money to Project Ukraine. And they were debating this in the Senate. I think Rand Paul filibustered, and we're going to get a final vote today. This Tuesday the vote was supposed to be yesterday, but Rand Paul, he dragged it on till today, and today we're going to get the final vote. It should pass. It'll probably pass the Senate and then get sent to the House. Speaker Johnson, he has already come out with a statement, and he said that he will kill this bill. He's going to kill Bill. And he did say he's going to kill the bill. He's going to send it back in its current form. He says something like that. So, Johnson could be signaling that, look, he did say we need to address the southern border. So he is signaling, put some southern border stuff in there, and maybe he'll consider it. Maybe that's what he meant. He did say he's going to kill this bill in its current form. Look at that. Fascinating stuff. But Josh Hawley, he gave an interesting speech in the Senate. Hawley basically said that we pay for everything when it comes to Project Ukraine. He's like, we pay for their entire private sector. We pay their pensions, their teacher's salary, their government employee salary. But we have no money for the people of the United States. That's basically what Hawley said. He's like, we have unlimited money when it comes for funding Ukraine, including funding the private sector. But when it comes to our own citizens, we don't have a dollar. So that was an interesting speech from Hawley, a good speech from Hawley. And then you had on the other side of the debate, you had Mitt Romney. Now, Mitt Romney, he said that this is the most important vote that the Senate's going to take up. The most important vote that the Senate is going to take up is money for Project Ukraine, according to Mitt Romney. Nothing more important than money for Project Ukraine. I believe that Mitt Romney, I could be wrong about this, but I believe that Mitt Romney had some family business or something going on in Ukraine. I'm not quite sure who in his family, if this is true, who in his family was doing business in Ukraine. I mean, we know about Biden, we know about Pelosi's kids, Biden's kids. Of course, we know about Biden's kids. But I think Romney had something to do with Ukraine as well, his kids or something to do with Ukraine. Anyway, Romney's like, it doesn't get more important than Project Ukraine. Nothing is more important than Project Ukraine for Romney. What else? J.D. Vance. He is exposing this funding bill for having this Trump trap in it. And that's what it is. It's a Trump trap. Basically, this bill, I reported on this yesterday. Let's go this way. This bill basically ties Trump, if he were to become president, it ties him into funding Project Ukraine up until September, like late September of 2025. So if Trump were to become president, and if he were to deliver on his promise of ending the conflict in Ukraine, then according to J.D. Vance, if the money were to stop to Project Ukraine before the end of 2025, then the Democrats will have another reason to impeach Trump, because this bill ties Trump into giving money to Project Ukraine up until the end of September 2025, which J.D. Vance is basically saying that this bill ensures that the conflict in Ukraine will have to go on up until the end of September 2025, even if Trump were to become president. And J.D. Vance, he actually spoke with Tucker Carlson yesterday as well, and explained what is in this bill. And even Elon Musk, he tweeted about this clause, this text in this bill, which keeps the war going in Ukraine until the end of 2025, even if Trump were to become president. Well, more importantly for the Republicans, it keeps the money going to Project Ukraine up until the end of September 2025, even if Trump were to become president. So J.D. Vance is talking about this, and he is sounding the alarm bells. What do I want to say here? What do I want to say? The evil eye. The evil eye. Things are not going good for Biden, huh? Things are not going good for Biden. It's been a pretty bad week for Joe Bidenopoulos, Greece's favorite son. But no need to worry. No need to worry, Democrats. Kamala is ready to serve. Kamala is ready to serve. That is what she told the Wall Street Journal while she was on Air Force Two. She said, "I'm ready to serve. There's no question about that." So obviously, Kamala understands or has heard that the Democrats and the deep state, the powers that be, they're trying to figure out what to do with Biden. What do we do with Biden? Do we get rid of him? If we get rid of him, who do we have to replace him? What are we going to do about Joe Biden? And Kamala is basically telling the deep state, pick me. Pick me. I'm here. Yo, I'm here. It's all noisy over there. Let's walk out. Let's walk this way. That's what Kamala is doing. So she gave this interview and told the Wall Street Journal, I'm ready. I'm ready, deep state, permanent state. Oh, check it out. The dog is chasing the cat. That cat went up on the tree. Wow. Cats are amazing. Did you guys catch that? That dog went right after the cat. The cat went right up there. So yeah, Kamala's like, I'm here. I'm here. I'm ready to serve. I'm ready to take over for good old Joe. Can you imagine Kamala as president? Oh boy. She's more unpopular than Biden. She's way more unpopular than Biden, if that's even possible. But Kamala's pulled that one off. I'll have a whole lot of clown world material if Kamala were to become president, that's for sure. Boy, would I have a whole lot of clown world material. If you thought Biden's speeches were interesting, can you imagine Kamala speeches on a regular basis? Like having to speak to the American people on a regular basis, or having to meet world leaders or anything like that. Just like on a regular basis, Kamala Harris, listening to Kamala Harris every day. Can you imagine the material that we're going to get for our clown worlds? Man. Anyway, that's Kamala Harris. She actually believes that she should be president. And that's the problem that the Democrats have. They have a Kamala Harris who doesn't want to step aside. Very smart on the Biden team to make her vice president. Very, very smart. It's the one smart thing that Biden has done, was to make Kamala vice president. And Biden understood that Kamala, being Kamala, would not want to step aside if they tried to force him out as president. I think the Biden team understood this. They understood Kamala's psychology. They knew that she wants to be president really bad. And if they pick her as vice president, when and if the powers that be decide to shove Biden off to the side, then Kamala's not going to want to play ball. She's not going to say, okay, I'll also step aside, or I'll remain as vice president while you put in a Michelle Obama or Gavin Newsom or whatever. No, she wants to be president. She wants to be presidente. So how goes the Project Ukraine? How goes it? $61 billion is what the Senate wants for Project Ukraine. Johnson's going to send the bill back. But the plan is, from McConnell, the plan is to get money to Project Ukraine around March, right? That's what McConnell wants to have happen. He's going to get the bill from Johnson back. McConnell's going to do his thing in Congress. They'll send another bill to Johnson, and eventually they'll get something. They'll get something passed for Project Ukraine. So, how goes it? How goes it? That's my very long-winded segue into my next topic, which is Project Ukraine. The New York Times is reporting that Ukraine, short on soldiers, debates how to find the next wave of troops. How to find the next wave of troops. That doesn't sound good at all, does it? Interesting use of words. The next wave. The next wave of troops. What happened to the previous wave, New York Times? I thought Ukraine was winning. I thought Russia was losing. That's what you've been telling us for the past year and a half. So 61 billion is going to be needed for soldiers. Can 61 billion buy soldiers? We know that the money, most of the money, is going to go to the military industrial complex. 10% for the big guy. Take out the 10% for the big guy. Take out whatever cut the political class and the Zelensky regime are going to take. But most of the money goes to the MIC. But can you buy soldiers with 61 billion? Because that is what Ukraine needs. And the New York Times, in this article, they actually say that Ukraine is suffering a very high casualty rate. That's in the first paragraph. And then they talk about the mobilization law and how Ukraine wants to lower the age of conscription from 27 to 25. But many women have already fled Ukraine. Many men, they don't want to go to the front line. They don't want to fight. And Ukraine doesn't know what it's going to do. Their current conscription law is from 27 to 60 years old. And they want to push that down to 25. And they're afraid of protests. And protests have already been breaking out just from talking about this law. Just from considering this law, people are already protesting. And it's a big mess. It's a real big mess, a big demographic mess for Ukraine in the future as well. A very big demographic mess. Because a lot of the women have left, and many of the men have already been sent to the front line, have already been injured or killed. And now they're going to have to tap into the youth. And it's not a very big pool of people from what the New York Times is reporting. The New York Times is saying that Ukraine demographically has more men aged 40, 50 and up. And men who are 25 and younger is actually a much smaller pool to choose from. But a very controversial mobilization bill. And the Zelensky regime is very worried about this mobilization. Very worried for his own position in power, because you even have political parties that are coming out against Zelensky for this mobilization bill. But what are you going to do? If you're Zelensky and you want to keep the war going, you need soldiers. And if you've run out of soldiers from the 27 to 60-year-old age bracket, or you're running low on 27 to 60 years old, you have to go 25 and younger. Anyway, that's the article from the New York Times. The European Union, they understand that this war is lost. And so what the EU is now doing is that they are preparing for the war with Russia in 5 years, 5 to 8 years. That is what the EU is doing. And the European Union, in my opinion, the way I'm reading it, is that the plan, and I'm not saying this is a good plan, it's actually a pretty dumb plan, but it's a plan, is to gradually move the EU into a type of war. I don't want to say war economy, but a war industry. I have a feeling that the leaders in Brussels, especially in Germany and France, the big countries in the north of Europe, they've come to the conclusion that they've been deindustrialized, and the one thing that they can now rely on with regards to economic growth or something to power their economy is weapons and a type of war industry. And so that's what the European Union is now shifting towards. And you have this article from The Guardian with the title, European Leaders Call for Stronger Defense Ties After Trump's NATO Remarks. And so you have Donald Tusk, who's the ultimate EU fanboy, right? He's European Union, blue and gold through and through, the ultimate globalist EU insider. He's traveling around Europe. He was in Paris the other day. Now he's going to go to Germany. And he's meeting with Macron and Schultz, and they're talking up how they're going to just start producing weapons. Just a lot of weapons. Weapons production, that's the name of the game. And the EU has to come together collectively as a union and just start manufacturing weapons. And of course, the excuse is you have to manufacture weapons because you have to get ready to fight the Putin in 5 years, in 5 to 8 years. And so they're really seizing on this Trump comment that he made the other day with NATO spending, and they're using Trump's comment to push further the need to weaponize the European Union, to build weapons, to build a military, to build a better, a stronger defense industry throughout the EU collectively, to do this together. And Tusk in Paris, he said, "It is probably here in Paris that the words from the Three Musketeers by Alexandre Dumas resonate most clearly. All for one and one for all. All for one and one for all. The European Union needs to come together and to make weapons, because in 5 years, they're going to have to fight the Putin." Tusk then went to Germany, and he met with Schultz as well, and they talked about weapons manufacturing. And Schultz, in reference to Trump's comment the other day about NATO spending, because Germany doesn't hit the 2% threshold for NATO spending. I think this year they're going to actually get to 2% of their budget for NATO spending. But Schultz, he said that nobody can be allowed to gamble with Europe's security. Nobody, including Trump, cannot gamble with Europe's security. So I don't know. My hunch is that Germany, especially Germany, they've understood that they've been smashed from Project Ukraine. Their economy has been completely smashed. And it's time to shift to a war industry, a weapons manufacturing economy. And so that's what they're going to do. And that's what Tusk is traveling around Europe doing. That's what Schultz in Germany are planning to do. Make weapons. That's going to be the future of the European Union. At least that's their plan. I don't think it's a good plan. I don't think it's a smart plan. And I think without Russia's cheap, reliable, dependable energy, I don't see how you're going to really be competitive in weapons manufacturing. But that's the plan. That's the plan how I see it. So Zelensky, before the Munich Security Conference, which I think is taking place next week, I believe, or maybe even the end of this week, he's going to also travel around Europe and push for money, of course, but he's also going to push for more weapons manufacturing. Got to make ammunition. You got to make missiles. You got to build tanks. Zelensky's going to continue to sell the myth that many of these factories can be built in Ukraine, in the west of Ukraine, and the west of Ukraine can be a weapons manufacturing hub. But there you go. That is what Zelensky is going to do. He's going to tour Europe and talk up money to Ukraine, but more importantly, he is going to talk up EU weapons manufacturing in order to fight the Putin. So the EU, they also passed a law the other day to steal, not the Russian frozen assets, but to steal the interest earned on the Russian frozen assets. We're talking about 200 billion. That's what the analysts are saying. 300 billion of Russian frozen assets in total. 100 billion of those assets are in the US, and 200 billion is sitting in Europe. And the EU yesterday, they took another step towards actually stealing the 200 billion, but in this instance, they are just going to steal the interest earned on the 200 billion that has been frozen in Europe. And basically the law that they passed, according to Reuters, says that the interest that is being earned on the 200 billion has to be separated and put into a separate account, and ready for the EU to take it and to use it as they wish, which in this instance means sending that money to Project Ukraine. That is what the EU is hoping to do with the interest earned on this 200 billion. We're talking about 15 billion euros over 4 years. That is what the European Union is hoping to steal from the interest earned on the 200 billion. Let's see here. Reuters says EU takes first step to use Russia's frozen assets for Ukraine. The law passed on Monday means central securities depositories, CSDs, such as Euroclear, will be prohibited from using net profits and must keep revenue from the Russian assets separate. It's still theft. I mean, it's still theft. You're using someone else's asset that's generating interest, and you're stealing that interest. That's what the EU is doing. I mean, it's theft. What kind of message are you sending to the world, to other foreign investors? If I park my money in Europe and it earns interest, do I have to worry that you're going to take the interest that I'm earning from my assets? I mean, it's my asset. If it's my asset, that means that it's my interest. I mean, I think that just makes sense. But the EU is going to steal the interest. They think for some reason, the European Union, they think that it's okay to steal the interest and leave the asset as is, frozen. It's still stealing. It's still using someone else's asset, and you're earning interest on it, and you're stealing. Eventually, the EU is going to take that 200 billion. They've just taken one step closer to stealing the full amount, the 200 billion. So Tucker was in Dubai, and he was at a conference in Dubai, and he said some interesting things. This is the first time that Tucker has spoken about his interview with Vladimir Putin, at least in an official capacity. He made some comments that was posted on social media, like a 5-minute kind of debriefing after the interview, and Tucker said some things about the interview that was posted on social media. But this is the first official statement from Tucker Carlson after the interview with the Russian president. And Tucker said that in this interview in Dubai at this event, Tucker said that Moscow is an awesome city. Yeah, it's an awesome city. An awesome metro. Yeah, Moscow has an awesome metro. He said it's clean. Yeah, it's orderly. Yeah, it's a beautiful city with beautiful architecture. Yep. True on all counts. And he said that he actually said that Moscow is a nicer city than pretty much anything that he's seen in the United States. That's pretty much what he said. And he's like, how come we can't have a city as nice as Moscow? Well, I don't know. Maybe if they stopped sending 61 billion to Ukraine, you can get a nice city like Moscow. I don't know. But Tucker also said that people that are in the government, people that talk about taking back Crimea, he said that they're children, because that's never going to happen. He's right on that point as well. Obviously, there's not going to be a taking back or a capture of Crimea, and Tucker realizes this. He realized this before he spoke to Putin, but after speaking with Putin, he realizes that there's going to be no territorial gains or advancements from the collective West or the Ukraine military. Tucker finally gets it that Russia is not going to cede any of the new provinces, the new regions, because they're now part of the Russian Federation. So Tucker's like, anyone that's talking about this stuff, you're being childish. You have no understanding of what's going on. He also said that Russia's producing a lot of weapons, more weapons than the U.S. and the collective West could possibly produce. And he said the whole myth about Russia being a gas station masquerading as a country and all of that stuff, he said it's just all nonsense. I remember when Tucker was at Fox, and it was Tucker, his show was first, then Hannity, and then Laura Ingraham. I think that's how the lineup went. But Hannity, Laura Ingraham, and even Tucker back in the day, they would parrot the John McCain line of Russia is a gas station masquerading as a country. Everyone parroted that line in the United States for the last 10 years. They really bought into that narrative. And so good on Tucker for coming out and saying to the world, look, the whole Russia's a gas station masquerading as a country is nonsense. They've got huge capacity to just produce weapons with ease, he said. With ease. He used the word. They're making weapons very easily. And so, I think that's going to be very eye-opening for a lot of people, because the narrative over the last 2 years has been Russia's running out of weapons, right? Russia's running out of weapons. Russians can't make anything. Russians can't produce weapons. They have to get weapons from North Korea and Iran and China. And here you have Tucker Carlson saying that's not the case. That is not the case at all. And this whole gas station as a country thing, we need to just get it out of our heads. It's not true. It's all lies. So that was an interesting statement from Tucker Carlson. And he also said that Putin is ready for peace. He's ready to negotiate, which is also true. But negotiate with an understanding that Russia's interests get taken into consideration, and that the collective West understands the reality on the ground. That's been what the Russian government has been saying for the last 2 years. You have to take our security interests into consideration, and you have to accept the reality on the ground. And Tucker, when he was speaking in Dubai, he said that the more this conflict goes on, the less that Putin will be willing to negotiate, because Russia is winning. The more you're winning, the more you end up saying, why negotiate now? I'm heading towards victory anyway. So I'm gonna achieve my goals through military means. It's inevitable. So why should I negotiate and give up anything? And that's what Tucker was saying in this statement. So some interesting thoughts from Tucker after his interview with President Putin. And of course, it's Ukraine and the collective West that are not going to negotiate. I mean, it's in the Ukraine Constitution. It's a Ukraine law that they can't negotiate with Putin. So there is going to be no negotiation. This is going to be settled on the battlefield, and that's that. Let's do a couple of clown worlds and wrap this video up. The Ukraine foreign minister was bit by a dog the other day. That sucks. Kuleba. He was walking his 3 dogs, and another dog attacked him, and he actually had to get taken to the hospital. That sucks. I think he actually said something about the incident. 1 second. Let me see if I have Kuleba's quote from the dog bite. He said, "Dogs should be loved, but also they should be kept on leashes," Kuleba wrote. Biden is not going to take a cognitive test as part of his upcoming physical exam. That is what the White House said in a statement the other day. No cognitive test, because he doesn't need a cognitive test. He's as sharp as can be, man. Cognitive test for Biden. Come on. Come on. Biden is so sharp that he can actually converse with dead presidents. That's how sharp he is, man. He's beyond sharp. He's able to speak to dead people. I mean, that's like a superpower. That is like a superpower. He can speak with the great beyond. He doesn't need a cognitive test. If anything, the doctors and scientists need to tap into this superpower of Biden's. How does he do it? How does he speak to dead presidents? That's what they really need to do. They need to tap into this huge brain of Biden's. Kallas. Kallas is on the Russia wanted list. Yep, according to the Kiev Post, for the first time in history, the head of another state, Estonian Prime Minister Kallas, was placed on the Russian wanted list. The Media Zona publication leaked the full wanted database of the Russian Interior Ministry. So I don't know if this is true. Maybe it's true. Probably it's true. If it is true, well then, sucks being Kallas, I guess. I don't know. Data Rojdenia for Kallas, 17/6/1977. Estonia. That's her nationality. She's on the wanted list, Kallas, the Prime Minister of Estonia, and according to the rumors, the soon-to-be Foreign Minister of the European Union to take over for Jungle Joseph Borrell. You know, they pushed the whole Putin on the ICC thing, the whole ICC wanted Putin thing. They pushed for that. So only fair that Russia puts some of the collective West leaders on a wanted list, I guess. I don't know. Two can play at that game, I guess. You know. Anyway, if this is true, and I don't see why it wouldn't be true, but maybe it's not true. Maybe this is fake news. Maybe this is true. If this is true, then I imagine this is Russia's response to the whole Putin ICC thing. That would be my guess. And Kallas, she's been pushing hard against Russia, but she was pushing hard for the whole Putin is a war criminal ICC stuff. So I guess this is Russia's answer. Anyway, that's the video, everybody. TheDuran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and Twitter X. And go to the Duran shop. 15% off all t-shirts. Take care.